The Compass Box Oak Cross. This is a blended blended Scotch whiskey from the whiskey makers at Compass Box, which I think is again the fellow from Johnny Walker that started this. He sold this now, so it's Salem Capital or whatever I think that owns this. 43% alcohol, 86 proof. Um, it is non-chill filtered, and that is the natural blended color. Again, we're talking about a blend here, so but that's natural color for the blend. It is 14% Daluin refill bourbon cask. 47%. They have 47% Klein Leash first fill ex bourbon. And then my understanding written here, and I don't know, maybe this is a Highland blend. I guess maybe the Highland blend. So there's a proprietary kind of Highland blend that they use for a whole bunch of stuff. That's finished in an ex-bourbon cask with heavily toasted French oak heads. So that's the oak cross, if you will. This part here where there's like an ex-bourbon cask that has French oak heads on it that are heavily toasted. That's supposedly supposed to give it a toasty character, which sometimes like comes out as like a little bit of like a marshmallow kind of thing. I feel like we've gotten that off of this before, like just a little bit of like a marshmallow sort of thing. But we'll see what we get today. There's still quite a bit in here, actually. This one wasn't in dire straits. It's not that low, I guess. There's still several drams left in that. Unlike the Jameson, which I think has like one. But yeah, the whiskeys that were originally used in this blend can no longer be sourced. So as a result, they cannot make this anymore. But I think it's been a long time since they've ever been able to make this one. Yeah, it's written here. It's been discontinued since 2021. So it was discontinued 3 years ago. So there's probably just not very many of these bottles left around. But again, based on the previous tastings we've had of this, you're not missing too much. You don't need to go out and buy one of these. Just gonna let this kind of just chill for a minute. Notes of marshmallow on the Woodford Double Oaked. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know if you know or not, but Woodford Double Oaked, the second barrel, the double oaked part. So Woodford Double Oaked is basically Distiller's Select, except they refinish it for about a year in a second barrel. That's the double oaked part. But that second barrel is very lightly charred for like 5 seconds and super heavily toasted. So it would make a lot of sense that you would get a marshmallow on the double oaked because the finishing barrel is literally a turbo toasted barrel. So that would be bang on in my understanding. We're just chilling with this for a little bit. Again, this is like natural color. It's not. It's like a straw kind of color. It's not particularly dark. Definitely convinced me that this is natural. We don't really know the age statements of the stuff in the blend here, so that doesn't really help at all. But it's not like presenting particularly dark at all. Palate's a little weird. Oak is a little bitter, yeah, and I think that's one of those things like we were talking about earlier, where I think that's just a character of Woodford, and it's kind of like you either like cannot get over it or you can come to appreciate it. And I think that's what most people who really like Woodford, they come to appreciate that particular part of Woodford, which is kind of like maybe a little um, what's the word? Um, Polarizing, I suppose. And that's one of the things too is when we were looking at a lot of the American bourbon distilleries, um, it actually surprised me that a lot of them were column still. A lot of the bourbons are actually column still, but Woodford is pot still. So it could be something to do with that, but I get the feeling it's something to do with the barrel part because that dry oakiness that's on Woodford obviously is not going to come from the distillate. At least I wouldn't think so, right? So it's something to do with how that's barrel aged for sure. Something, something about it. This is only 43% alcohol, so it's not terribly strong, but we're just going to give it a good amount of time. The coating here is not particularly thick. It's actually a little maybe on the liquidy side. Coat's fine and everything, but you can tell just by looking at it, it's not terribly thick. It's a little watery. Nothing cask strength going on here, obviously. Okay, so right immediately you get those classic um, orchard fruit notes, a little bit of the kind of cereal grain malty note. There's actually a sweetness to the fruit. I would go with like an apple juice rather than an apple fruit. Maybe sometimes a little leaning into like a cider. We could go with like apple cider and cereal, like shredded wheat with apple juice, apple cider. Um, that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of a darker, sweeter apple, but the multi character's still in there too. Any cask strength scotch you would recommend? I don't have a lot of it because not a lot of it comes up here. What do I have? Um, the only cask strength scotches I actually have are that Deanston 9-year-old brandy, which we haven't opened yet, the Iran quarter cask, the Bothy. That is one that is cask strength, 56% alcohol. I can definitely recommend that one. It's a great price too. For me, it's like mid 70s dollars. So that's a tasty one. The Iran quarter. A lot of the Iran products I think end up being cask strength too, but Iran quarter cask is a good one at cask strength that I've personally tried. We have that Litchig red wine, which we still haven't opened. And we have the Abelar Abuna, um, which is 60.5 or 121 proof. So that one is that hefty sherry one. But of course, we're talking about rocket fuel proof at that point. So it's very rich, sherry bomb, which is tends to be a good value too. I think for me, it's about $100. Um, so only those are the only ones that I personally have tried that I have with me. But I've also heard plenty of good things about kind of your typical brands that have a cask strength release. So, for example, if you can get a Lafroig 10-year-old cask strength, that's probably a great one. Stuff like that. Like anything that you can get that you know is like the proof down version is pretty good. If you can get a cask strength version, it's just going to amp up those flavors. Um, but some of them just don't tend to release ones. Like, for example, um, we talked a whole bunch about wishing Glenfiddich would release a cask strength product, but I've never seen one that's not part of the Perpetual Vat series, for example. But like, for example, Glenfarclas has the Glenfarclas 105, which is a cask strength Glenfarclas, which is probably somewhat comparable to Aberlour Buna. So usually there's only a few releases from the distilleries that are cask strength. Now, one line that is kind of cask strength and enthusiast directed is the Diageo special release, yearly special release line. Those are all cask strength, and they come from all of Diageo's single malt distilleries. So those are a little expensive. Usually the Diageo special releases are a premium. You pay extra, but they're all cask strength, so you get that. Lafroig 10-year cask strength for 99. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good place to be if you're okay with your, as Ben Torius would say, bog mummy scotch at cask strength. Um, that's one of the ones I'm looking forward to getting. Uh, Eventually, they are going to have some Lafroig 10-year cask strength at the festival, but I get the feeling that's not going to be my first choice. Quarter is 74, yeah. So quarter is up proof. So quarter is 48% alcohol or 96 proof. So it's not quite cask strength, but it is proofed up. Whereas like the Lafroig 10-year, I think that hits in at 40%. Like regular Lafroig 10, I think is 40%. Maybe in North America it's 43. Yeah, it's 43. Seems like it's 43 maybe in North America. But in the UK, I think it's 40. Um, so the quarter is going to be a higher proof than the 10, but obviously 10 cask strength is going to be the full force of the 10-year Lafroig. Um, but I do hope to personally get a Lafroig 10 cask strength pretty soon. I get the feeling it's not going to be my first choice when I go to the pop up, but last year there were a bunch left over that ended up at the regular shops. So I think the Lafroig 10 cask strength is not going to sell out. At least it didn't last year. When's the pop up? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's open for like 5.5 hours on Thursday, 3.5 hours on Friday, and like all day on Saturday. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to get over there, but we'll see what's there when I get there. Yeah, this is still like dark sweet apple juice, so we'll just say apple cider, and like a maltiness. There's definitely some spiciness in there that I think just plays into the like spiced apple cider idea. And it's well integrated. It's not rough in any way. It's well well crafted. So like those malty notes and those like sweet apple spice notes are well integrated together. They feel like they're joined. They feel like they're in unison rather than segregated. It really feels like the complete meal, but nothing else going on here. So we're going to try this on the palate. Slancheva. Very well rounded, very easy to drink. Mouthfeel's not the worst despite the proof. Um, Kind of just those same continuation of flavors from the nose, definitely present on the palate and finish. Kind of that sweet apple cider with like a sweet malty character. Some spice is present. And actually, what I kind of like about the finish, the lingering part of the finish to me is reminiscent of spiced apple cider. That's kind of the lingering part. It's tasty. It's nice. I enjoy it for sure. Actually, quite tasty. But there's not a lot of crazy things going on here. It's not overly complex. What you get on the nose is what you get on the palate. What you smell is what you get. Probably there won't be anything crazy popping out of here, but we'll give it its fair time in the glass like we do always. There's that little bit of marshmallowy sweetness kind of at the top. And somewhat we're looking for it because we know this is a heavily toasted product, but there's definitely right present like a vanilla sweet marshmallow character at the top of the nose at this point. But still that kind of like apple cider, spiced apple cider malty thing. Nothing too wild. Actually, a good amount of oak popping with the spiciness on the finish. Finish not terribly long. Um, we'll go like medium minus kind of finish. It's actually pretty hard to like want to rate any of these categories much different than each other. It feels so uniform. In that way, it's well crafted, it's well blended, it's well integrated. Um, I feel like you get a consistency of flavor, complexity, and flavor impact straight through from aroma to palate to finish. It's all like around the same. It's very well uh, crafted in that way. That being said, there's no development. There's not like anything popping out that's new and interesting. It's I almost want to use the word engineered. It feels so engineered. It's like they had a flavor profile and they hit it on all cylinders, but that means it's also not doing anything particularly interesting. Yeah, we haven't looked at the AMBL website in a while, but basically understand that like I was on that website, and as you know, I was on that website all the time to the point where I knew exactly what was in every single category, and if anything new popped up, I was like, "Oh man, that's new. That wasn't there before." Um, I posted on the Discord about it, but basically, like, what day was this? Uh, Saturday. This was Saturday morning. I was at work Saturday morning, and I hadn't checked all day, and I went and checked in there, and there was 35% more items in the single malt scotch category. We're not talking about like a few. We're talking about like the category increased in size by 35%. So at first I was feeling okay about it. I was like, every day there's like 5 or 6 things that get put in there. It's pretty tame. And then all of a sudden they were just like, hey, we're going to just drop a bomb. And then I was like, holy fuck. And there's so many things in there. Um, I really have to weed out, somewhat still have to weed out exactly what I want. Um, and I get the feeling that when I get there, certain things are going to be sold out already. I don't know how much of each thing they're going to get. There's no quantities. We don't know like how many of each bottle they have to sell. And I also don't know if it's the kind of thing where like, say they have 3 cases of Stag Junior, maybe they just open 1 case every day rather than like sell all the Stag Junior on the first day. I don't know. But um, there is so much selection, and there's no way I could come out of there disappointed. The only thing I'll be disappointed about is I couldn't buy more. That's what it'll be. It was a good 45 minutes before we found it. Yeah, I know. I took a picture. Stag Junior is what you really want. It's not that what I really want. It's that if I could get a bottle of Stag Junior for $100, that's a crazy deal. It's like one of those things where it's like, even if that's not what I really want, that's the deal I should take. um, so that's the one. That's the one that like really stands out in my mind as like, this is obviously underpriced. People are going to go bananas for this particular one. But it's actually not the one I'm most interested in. It's just the one that I know that if I see it there, I have to buy it because I will not see it again at that price. Or at least if I leave it, it'll disappear in 1 second. It's very unlikely I'll get a bottle of Stag Junior at any other time if I see it there. Because that Blanton's appeared, and I've only barely got that Blanton's. Like, very barely got it. There's no way a Stag would be available that long. About to be broke? Yeah, maybe. Next year I'm going to save more money for it, I think. At first I really thought it wasn't that bad, and then they dropped so many things. I don't, it's hard to come across how many things they dropped. Like, so many things. But again, we don't know how many bottles of each. So I also don't know how it's going to be, right? Because like how it is this event is at a hotel. So I don't know like if it's going to be like a whole room of stuff or it's just going to be like, you got to ask for stuff. I have no idea what's going to be like. No clue. It's not like they can set up a whole shop. At least I don't think so. I don't know. Yeah, nothing new on this. Just the same. Just the same things. Yeah, I don't want to spill the beans too much on what I'm looking for because I kind of want it to be maybe a little bit of surprise for stream too. Um, and also I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what's going to be sold out. Uh, but I'm trying to target things that I know are going to be limited quantities. It's not even that they're expensive. It's just that there's not going to be very many. Or they're going to be like bought so quick that they're not going to make it through the 3 days. There's plenty of things that I would want to buy that are probably going to make it through the 3 days that are maybe I'm more interested in than the things that I'm going to probably actually try to buy. It's just that I know that those things are going to very likely not sell out. Like, for example, there's some products from Killoman, which is an Isla single malt Scotch distillery, which we've never tried before. There's the Macure Bay and the Sinag that are going to be there, I'm pretty sure. But the thing is like those are regular run of the mill Killomans. We just haven't had Killoman in stock around here for a long time. So I get the feeling those are going to be available for a while. Like I'm not going to have to go in there and buy a Killoman. That being said, there also hasn't been like anything super turbo Campbelltown. Like there's no Springbank products, there's no Kilkerran products. I think there's one Glen Scotia product. So I don't have to like worry about trying to get in there to get a Springbank. If there was a Springbank, I'd be all over it. But there's no Springbank as far as I know. There's no like long row or anything like that. Absolutely. I just listen, but I can't respond. Yeah, I mean it's like same old. Nothing's changing here. It's nice. It's pleasant. It's tasty. If it was readily available, not bad. Flavor punch for 43%, pretty good. Well crafted. Nothing spiky. Tasty dram. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy going on. It's still fruit and malt and spice. A little bit of toasty note, right? Um, what's the experience here? You're buying it for the toasty note, but you can't get them anymore anyway. So at 25, let's focus on the aroma. I think mom is cooking something. Don't mind her.
Like 2 seconds of noise, okay?
I just say that to drive her nuts. That's all. I'm more trying to drive her nuts than apologize to you. It works. Yeah, it does. I know it does. Yeah, just those fruits, that spiciness, that maltiness, a little bit of marshmallow stuff going on. Not bad. Um, just it's not providing me anything else. I want it to give me more. That's where I'm at with this stuff. It's like I need more. I need more. I need to give me like a complex unfurling flower of something, like kind of like when we had Talisker, and it was like all of a sudden turned into maple bacon. I like that's the kind of thing that I really want to give an up score to. To me, this is like 14. What do we give Talisker's nose anyway? I'm curious. Where'd Talisker go? There it is. 18. Fair. All right, on the palette, this guy. Comes in with that sweet apple cider, spicy apple cider. A little bit of oak character is in there with that, like, malty cerealness. Hard to find that marshmallow on the palate, but you could probably say it's there. It's probably there, but it's kind of hard to find. Good flavor intensity for this proof. You know what? I actually like the palette on this one. I think it's pretty good. I'm going to try it again. I actually might want to give this palette a good score. I've had so many, like, limp dick palettes recently that this one being not limp dick makes me want to give it a better score. I'll give it a 16. It's not quite great. You're making noise. I think she's intentionally failing to tear aluminum foil just to make more sound.
I will pretend it was intentional. I'd rather people think I'm a bitch than stupid.
Limp dick palette, yeah. I think I'm most picky about the palette. It's definitely like me. I feel like I'm too generous with the nose and too picky about the palette. But to me, it's like some of these noses are really nice. I really enjoy them. And then some of these palettes are like, hello? Flavor? Is that some flavor up there? Maybe. Flavor over there? That's what it feels like. And it's like, it feels like that.
I thought you were seeing something on the ceiling. I was like, what?
I'm driving Mom crazy. And I think that's just the natural progression, I think, of spirits degenerates is eventually you want stuff at cask strength because you want the flavor. You're trying to find the flavor, want more flavor. Need more alcohol for more flavor. But that's just how it be, you know. If I gotta search for the flavor, you get a shit score. It's just how it is. So we're on the finish at this point. Which I'm pretty sure is just fine. We had a good appley sweetness, a little oak hit, some spice there. Nothing spiking. I think that's a common thing that happens on the finish for me is like you get this spike right at the start of the finish of like spice and oak. In a lot of the peated whiskeys, it's like earth and tar. Like right at the start of the finish is this spike of flavor. And it's not spiking here, and I think that's just to credit of the blending of it. It's well rounded in that way. It's not creating like an intense spike, which is challenging to drink. It's not challenging at all, which is a pro. As much as we like challenging things around here, it not being challenging because of a crafted character is a pro. Because it's not like we're losing on flavor; we're just missing on a challenging spike of intensity. That being said, nothing wild going on here. To me, this is an easy 14. It's about. I'm really surprised actually that I gave the palate more. I really felt like I was going to give like 14 to everything. It's not bad. You know, it's good. It's good. I like it. But it's not doing anything crazy. Texture actually pretty good. I wasn't enthused by the proof and the bottle coat or the glass coating character. It kind of seemed a little watery, but in the mouth, it's actually not that bad. I don't like it. Give it a 5. 5 out of 10 on texture.
No one's gonna make noise. I just want to take
I think it's planned, honestly. I think every time she just goes, okay, I know that they're gonna do a whiskey review at this time. I'm gonna go in the kitchen and just fuck shit up.
If you do your whiskey reviews on my lunch period.
It's fine. This will be a great VOD. We'll post it to YouTube. How do you feel about our experience with this whiskey? It's tasty. I do like it, but it's not doing anything wild. It's just doing the same things. It's got a nice. Actually, you know what? It's not doing anything wild. There's still the orchard fruit character going on. There's a little spice going on. There's a bit of an oakiness. The malt is pretty forward to. It's all the like non-peated bourbon barrel Scotch things going on, but it has a little bit of toastiness. We like that. That's something new and interesting. But I think what sets this apart and makes this not forgettable is actually how well it's blended. I have to give some amount of credit to how well this is crafted. And as much as it feels like artificially engineered and maybe soulless almost, because of how engineered it is, it feels so engineered that it's like all of these exact set of notes all the way through with not much like weird, crazy character or anything unique happening in there. And then it's all well crafted. That's a feat. It really is a feat. You don't get that very much. Usually with these single malts, you have like a crazy adventure where you're like, yeah, there's fruit and there's spice and there's oak and there's vanilla and there's, malt character, but it's in the weird, crazy, disjointed manner. And that's what we like about single malt is it makes it interesting. But to get those elements to all sing at the same tune, that's a feat, I think. I'll give it a better score for that, honestly. You know what? I think 7 out of 15 is fair. Just for the craft. Just for the craft of it. I appreciate the craft of it. 14 and 16 and 14 and 5 and 7 is 56. 56 out of 100. And this is still just, but it's about what we expect. It's a good whiskey. You're right. It's a good whiskey. Right middle of the road, a good whiskey. Not a great value. We'll say that, but it's a good whiskey.